Welcome, everybody, to the Single on Stiletto Show. I'm Suzanne Oshima, and I'm a dating and relationship coach and founder of Dream Bachelor and Bachelorette, and also of Single on Stilettos. Today, we have on our show Duana Welch, and she's the author of Love Factually 10 Proven Steps from I Wish to I Do. And I'm so excited to have her here today because today we're talking about how to move a stagnant relationship to commitment. And I know, ladies, you are dying to know the answer to that question. So before we jump into it, though, Duana, I would love for you to tell our audience a little bit about you and what made you write this book, Love Factually.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on the show again. I always love being on your show, Suzanne. You're just a great interviewer. And so a little bit about me. I have a PhD in developmental psychology, and I was doing really, really well at my job, and my relationships were just crashing and burning. And I thought, how can I be so good at this other thing, but I'm not so great at the thing I really want? And so obviously what I was doing wasn't working, and what my friends were telling me to do wasn't working, and the social mores, the way that our culture tells us to do things, none of those were working. So I thought the thing that a science nerd thinks, I wonder if science could help me out. And it did. So I initially used all the information in my book for my own benefit. And I actually did not plan to write a book. I planned to just benefit for myself. But then somebody called me and said, hey, I heard what you did. I want you to do it for me. And I said, oh, I'm too busy with my professorship. I can't possibly do that. And she said, I'll pay you a lot of money. And I said, I guess, yeah, I could do that. So I've had clients now for about, I don't know, it's either 15 or 20 years. I'm really not sure how long it's been. And it eventually turned into a blog and a book, and I still have my clients all over the world. So that's my story, and I've been happily married. We're coming up to 10 years in January.
Yay! I love that you just kind of fell into it, and you were really just doing it for yourself, and now look what you're doing, and you're already writing your second book, and that's amazing. So, and I know everybody that I've talked to that has read your book, Love Factually, has loved it. So, this is great. So I'm so honored to interview you on this topic about how to move a stagnant relationship to commitment. So can you give the ladies an idea on how to do this? Because I know this question comes up all the time.
Yeah, it's one of the questions that comes up all the time with people who approach me too, whether they're a client or whether they just emailed me. It's a really frequent question that women, heterosexual women, ask. You don't get this question a lot from guys because they're in the pursuer role. They're the one usually who proposes, right?
Right.
They're the one who asks for the number, asks for the date, all that. So one of the things you could do that you'll hear a lot of people say this, and it's wrong, by the way. Why don't you just ask him? Just ask him to move the relationship forward. Just ask him to call you more often. Just ask him to ask you on that date. Studies show that guys move you from the possible Mrs. Right category to the Miss Right Now category when you do that.
And why
because
is that?
They think you're low status. They think you don't have any other options. It's kind of like Groucho Marx famously said, I wouldn't be a member of any club that would have me. Guys kind of want to feel like they're reaching for you.
Like you're on a pedestal?
A little bit. I don't mean anything creepy or by that or stalkerish by that, but I do mean that they don't just want to respect and like and love and lust you. They want to actively and avidly admire you. They want to brag to their friends about you. It's funny, my husband and I have been married so long, and he brags about me all the time.
Aww.
I'll just walk through a room and he's on the phone bragging about something. He wants to look up to me. Men, if you watch like the shows men watch, my daughter and I were making fun of my husband last night. Okay, I'm not proud of this, but it's true. We're making fun of him because he was watching this, I guess it's The Flash. It's streaming on Netflix, and he's watching this show. And it's like the worst kind of drama. It's kind of melodrama, and just listening to the voices in the show, my kid and I are just like laughing behind our hands when we cross them. The thing is, though, that show is about something that men will really connect with, which is sacrificing yourself in the service of something greater. Why do men want to go to war? Why do men start playing at being superheroes and at rescuing people from the very beginning of their lives? Little boys do this. Why do they do it? They want to be the superhero in a woman's life. They really do. But not just any woman is worth doing that for. They want to be excited about you. And how they know they're excited about you is they chased you. So the first tip for really going for forwarding this relationship is not to ask him. It's to become slightly less available. When you are available, you're very, very warm and friendly and sweet, but you're not available as much as he would like. A lot of women confuse the lack of total availability with being a bitch. No. Being a bitch is being unavailable, and then when he calls or texts you, you say, oh, there you are. It's taken you long enough. That's being a bitch. Being slightly unavailable is if he calls and you're in the middle of something and he hasn't really been upping the ante of the relationship the way that you want it to go, you wait a day and then you call him back. But when you call him back, or when he calls back the next day, you are super friendly. When he says, oh, I called yesterday, what were you up to? Well, first of all, if he's not actually your boyfriend or your fiance, you say, oh, I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you. It's a secret mission. Like, make a joke about it. Don't tell him what you were doing. He doesn't really have a right to know that, but don't be bitchy about it. If you are in some level of commitment, then you can say, oh, I was just really busy at the moment, but I'm so happy you called me back. It is great to hear your voice. Smile. Let him hear the smile in your voice.
That is so
Men
true.
want to make you happy. They feel like crap when they make you unhappy. So you want to be very sparing with that you're a bad boy thing, because if they feel like that often enough, they associate you with it and they don't want you anymore. So you've got to pair being slightly less available with being really rewarding to be with when you're present. Now, if you're already living with the guy or something, you may have to move out. True story. There was this woman I knew who, and she's given me permission to use this story in my next book. She was a former student of mine. And I invited her over to give her baby a new gift. Her new baby, I wanted to give a gift. So I invited her over. This was after she'd been my student. Beautiful young woman. And she said, I don't know if we're going to get married. I kind of feel like we should. And I looked at her and I said, this baby deserves full commitment, not partial commitment, full commitment. Before it was just the two of you, but now you have someone who absolutely relies on the two of you. Now, if you don't love each other, fine, don't get married. But is this someone you would marry? And she said, yes, but he hasn't asked. And I said, do you want him to? And she said, yes, and I don't know how to go about it. And I said, I agree with you. And I think he loves you. And here's why I think he loves you. He bought your sister a car. Sister didn't have reliable conveyance. He bought her sister a car.
Oh, that was nice.
Not a rich guy. He always asks you how your day is. He tells you he loves you. He thinks you hung the moon and stars for having this baby. I said, but men get comfortable. He's not going to connect with urgency unless he thinks he might lose you. So I said, but you can't be bluffing. Here's the thing. You got to really mean it. And I will tell you what, she had some huge ovaries. Here's what she did. She said to him, the relationship, the level of commitment we have, it's just not really, it's not feeling like my home. This doesn't feel like home to me. It doesn't feel like what I was hoping for. And, I think I'm going to move back in with my parents. I'm going to take our baby and I'm going to move back in with my parents. We can still see each other, but I have some thinking to do. And I had told her that I thought she wouldn't even get a bag packed before he proposed. She was not through making that speech before he said, I cannot imagine my life without you and this baby. Please marry me.
Oh my God.
Next, she didn't give him an ultimatum. Every woman I've worked with who's done this, the guy proposed. Always. But the inclination is people will tell you, well, why don't you propose to him? Because then you don't have any status. That's why men they want to be a superhero for a woman they admire.
And also, it's funny because right when you said that about a woman proposing to a man, ladies, if you saw my face, I totally cringed when she said it, because I'm like, yeah, it kind of, it's one of those things where, we as women want to be treated equal, but quite honestly, that's one thing that I think women still want is that man that asks her to marry him. And quite honestly, the picture I got in my head, I don't know about anybody else's, I almost felt like it emasculated the man. Like, oh, well, I'm going to take over because you haven't done it yet. And now I'm going to propose to you. And it makes him feel almost like,
Well, he doesn't know if he said yes because he wanted to or yes
yeah,
because he felt like he had to.
yeah,
I want the man who wants me, and the way I know that is he's pursuing me.
yeah.
She found out, did he want her? Because if he didn't, he would have let her pack up and go.
Exactly. That is true. And it
She
made
found
him
out.
realize that, he didn't want to have his life be without her. And that's really important.
That's right. He's a wonderful husband and father. Got more children now, and it's just it's so lovely to see what life looks like when you are fully chosen by a man. If you get chosen by a man who was never quite sure, you will always be treated like the superhero who gave himself in a cause that wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
And it's not good enough for me. And I hope it's not good enough for the people who tune in to you. And that brings up a point. You can also test commitment with jealousy. And this is really unpopular. Boy, have I received some hate mail from men about it. I write for Psychology Today sometimes. And I had taken an excerpt from my book, and it got published there for dealing with the green-eyed monster and how sometimes creating jealousy can be a good thing. Studies show that when women ask men how committed they are, it lowers the woman's status and it makes him more confused rather than more clear about how he feels about you, which is exactly the opposite of what women are trying to achieve. And in research, among women who create jealousy intentionally in a male partner, I always thought women were just doing it to be catty. That's not the case. It turns out that in studies, when women get asked, why did you do this? They say, well, I didn't know if he cared about me. I didn't know how much he cared, or our relationship had stagnated and I needed to know if we were ever going to get to the next level. So I let him think that somebody else was interested in me, or I showed up at a party with another guy, or he asked if I could go out with him and I said, oh, I'm sorry, I already have plans. When he asked what those plans were, I said, oh, well, I didn't think we were exclusive. I said yes to a date with someone else. If you do that and he doesn't care, he doesn't care. It's a really accurate litmus test. I have been, about 80% of my clients are men. And it's funny, about half the readers of my book are male too. Men do care about love. They care about relationships. They just want some fact behind the advice and the information. So anyway, I just recently interacted with a man who realized he didn't want a woman because she went out with somebody else. And he's like, I'm just not that interested. You know what? Better for her to know now. Better for him to know now.
That's interesting. That's really, really interesting, though, because it's one of those things. Like, I just thought about that in your client, this man who didn't want to go out with her, but it was like, but he didn't seal the deal, right? Like, he didn't ask her to be in an exclusive relationship, and then he's mad that she actually went out on a date with somebody else.
Wasn't even that mad. If a guy's really angry, that at least he cares.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, usually what happens is a woman does this and the guy's like, hey, I want to be your boyfriend. I did this once to a guy. We weren't exclusive. He was waiting, he was asking me out midweek for weekends. And I got asked out by another guy and I said yes. And we'd gone out enough times that I felt like I could tell him a little bit more information other than, it's top secret or something flippant. And so, but he just wasn't forwarding the relationship. So I said to him, truthfully, I'm not lying here. I just didn't not tell him. I didn't let him think I could just be out with my girlfriends that Friday night. And I said to him, when he asked me out for Friday night, I said, oh, I already have plans. And he goes, you do? Well, do you mind telling me what? And I said, well, this other guy asked me to this event and, I hadn't heard from you. And I just thought, well, why not? And he goes, gosh, I'm sorry. I didn't tell you, but I really want you to be my girlfriend. And I'd like a standing date for Fridays.
There you go.
We both got a lot of clarity in that moment. Notice that this is not the same thing as giving an ultimatum.
Yes, and I'm glad you said that because it. And I always tell ladies this is that it will backfire on you if you give a man an ultimatum because even if he goes along with it, he will feel like he's backed into a corner and he'll probably rebel later on. But if he doesn't go along with it, then you lose. So it's always better if he comes to the decision on his own.
Yes, and he can come to that decision more rapidly through your absence or your presence with another man. But he doesn't come to that decision more rapidly by having you make him breakfast more often or give him more sex or ask him where the relationship is or say, I'm going out Friday, but it's just to babysit my sister's kids. Don't lower your status by chasing him.
Yes, that is.
Let him put his cape on and come to you.
Let him be the superhero. Well, these have been some great tips. So, Duana, can you tell our audience about your free gift for them?
Yes. Hello, audience. Thank you for being such a great audience through the many interviews that Suzanne and I have done together. This is my book, and you can have a free chapter for it at Love Factually with an F.co. And also, I answer all the emails I get for free.
Awesome. Well, ladies, go get that free chapter because I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Her book is awesome. So thanks everybody for joining us on the Single and Stiletto Show. Our show is available both in video format and podcast format. If you'd like to view the videos, you can go to singleandstilettos.com. And if you'd like to get the podcast, you can download it from iTunes. And if you would like to get our free ebook on why men disappear without a trace, you can click right here on the video or you can go to singleandstilettos.com.